As sure as the sun will rise, there will always be another Assassin's Creed game. There's just no stopping them. They seem to come all the time. It's been a while since the last one though, and look, here's a new one, Assassin's Creed Mirage. We're going to take a look at this running on the Z1 Extreme ROG Ally. We're going to check out the presets on 15 watt and 25 watt, 720p and 1080p, and we're going to try and get it close to 60 and see if we can keep it close to 60. That's kind of the target here. A note on this, we're not going to be using any FSR for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it doesn't seem to need it, which is kind of a surprise. And secondly, I weirdly had worse performance with FSR on it. A little bit strange, not used to seeing that. Now, if you do feel like picking up Assassin's Creed Mirage yourself, we do have a link in the description to cdkeys.com, a great site where you can get some pretty great deals on games. I think they've got this on Ubisoft Connect and Epic on there at pretty reasonable prices. If you do head into the link and get it, we may get a small commission. It's a great way to support the channel. We'd really appreciate it. But let's get straight into the testing now. So, starting off at 15 watt, 720p on the low preset, and we're nearly at 60 FPS. Somewhat anticlimactic. If you want to hit 60 FPS, just put it on the absolute bare minimum. It doesn't look amazing like this. Obviously, it's on the low preset, and the 720p is never going to win any awards. But this is a really good start. Let's crank it up to medium in a sec and see how it goes.
If I am seen, I will have to flee. Good thing I can outrun these sagging guards. Locked. A minor delay.
Knocking the preset up to medium, and we're just slightly lower than we were before. Still well above 50 FPS for the most part. I don't think I even saw it dip below too far. Actually, there it goes at 40 or so when you're in a crowded area, but turn off your frame monitor, you probably wouldn't even notice. It's pretty sweet.
Go somewhere else.
Now, heading into that high preset, this is where things start to get a little bit weird. What I noticed when testing this is that when the game seems to be struggling, your FPS doesn't hit too much. It doesn't go down that far. It's more that you start to see these weird micro stutters get introduced. And you can see it on the footage here. It's becoming more and more prevalent as he's running around. So I'd say probably medium for 15 watt 720p is going to be the limit. From here, we'll try this same preset at 25 watts in just a sec.
You somewhere else.
Come no closer. Do I make myself clear?
أتظن ذلك مضحكا؟
So at 25 watt, the frame rate's pretty darn similar. Again, we're just sort of breaching the 60 FPS range. But those micro stutters are now gone. So I think when this game isn't quite performing well, you'll start to notice that more in the fact that it just starts jittering and stuttering, and especially when you take a corner or when you make a sudden movement, you just see that really sharp turn, only for a second or so, and then it goes away. But yeah, knocking this up to 25 watt, back up to close to 60. Great times. And as the last part of 720p, rather amazingly on the very high preset, and keep in mind we still don't have FSR on, we're hitting above 50 FPS, dipping down into the 40s or so when you're in a large crowd of people, but you could absolutely play it like this. If you're not paying attention to your FPS, and you're not really all that concerned about what it's currently running at, you could just stick it on this and have a great time. This is really, really impressive performance. Now moving into 1080p 15 watt on the low preset, and we pretty quickly hit the barrier of what 15 watts can really deliver on this, with it only really being able to stay in the 40s. It doesn't go anywhere above that. I think on this footage it might even dip into the 30s a little bit. So for the rest of the 1080p we'll be knocking it up to 25 watt. You could play it like this if you want to. 40 FPS is absolutely golden. Steam Deck users love it. But yeah, not bad, but not great.
Greetings, Basim.
And that same preset up in 25 watts, and we're back into the 60 FPS range. Absolutely fine. Not a real problem here. You could play this at 1080p, low, 60 FPS, have a whale of a time.
قبل أن أنسى. Hello, Basim. لكنني سمعت إياك والكتاب. أمرنا أولئك الميكانيين إنهم لطفاء للغاية. تزوج.
Shifting things over on 1080p 25 watt into that medium preset, and we stay mostly in the 50s, mid 50s to high 50s, but when you are in a crowd it does seem to dip into the 40s. Again, like I said before, if you weren't paying attention to your FPS, you'd be absolutely fine. You wouldn't even notice it with the VRR screen. It'd probably be absolutely fine to play through like this. You'd have a great time. But yeah, this is really impressive considering there's no FSR yet.
Blessings upon you, Basim.
And the last thing we'll try is the high preset 25 watt 1080p. Frame rate mostly between the 40s and the 50s, occasionally going into the 50s. But not exactly into the sort of high 50s. But this is where I started to again see those stutters coming about. So we're at kind of the peak of what it can push out. I mean, I'm on a manual profile that's keeping it at 25 watts. If you were letting it turbo, you might be okay. But eventually it will settle on 25 and you'll just get those stutters again. So that's probably as far as we'll take it. So what's the best way to do it? Well, first of all, kudos to Ubisoft. This thing is optimized to high heaven. Well done. It's nice to see a AAA game coming out that is actually running at reasonable standard on day one, not needing any kind of patches to get it in a decent place. Weird FSR performance seems to actually bring the FPS down whenever I put it on, so that's kind of why we don't have it on here. But if you're going 720p, you could go straight in at 60 FPS, anywhere up to sort of medium settings, and you'd have an absolute whale of a time. You could even do it on 15 watts or 25 watts, absolutely no problem. My personal favourite would probably be that 25 watt 1080p medium. I'm quite happy with high 40s into the 50s. I think you'd have a great time doing it like that. Anyway, I hope this helped you out. If it did, be sure to leave a like, maybe subscribe to the channel. Check out the playlist because we've got loads of testing videos like this. And if you check on the end screen, there's also a link to the same game running on the Steam Deck. And until next time, thank you, and I'll see you.